This is a video just hypothesizing about what Trump said in his negotiations with Russia behind closed doors over the last few weeks. Now, nobody knows what was said in those negotiations, and that's a whole conversation and topic in itself. Trump is not the boss of America. The American people are the boss of Trump. So who is he accountable to? And if he's accountable to nobody, problem. But in any case, when you look about how he handled things with Zelensky and got drawn into that, well, how many times do you need to grovel and say thank you, thank you? You know what I mean? And trying to set him up to be humiliated on the world stage. I don't think he got humiliated. I think he held his ground. I think he asked for defensive guarantees, but the only thing on the table was for them to surrender their minerals. So he didn't exactly say no. We was trying to have a conversation. Now we're going to move that thing forward and think, why is Trump having a negotiation on TV? That's historically been like 2 or 3 questions just to say, okay, he's been invited to have these discussions and are we going to take it forward? Shake hands, smile, then you go into another room and hopefully you're an honest arbiter. Now, was Trump in any way, not only in this meeting, but in the weeks before, an honest arbiter? Or what did he say now? He's a partially successful comedian. Oh, he's a dictator. Zelensky's a dictator. I mean, oh my gosh, I don't want to fact check everything that he's saying, but during the World War, you know what I mean? Even Britain didn't have elections during the World War because guess what? There's German bombers over in the air. So I don't know. Why just sit in that building over there all day so we can count votes at a time of war? My gosh, it's Ukraine versus a superpower called Russia. And people suggesting like it's a sensible thing that you have an election in the middle. So anyway, there's no historical precedent in the West, in the UK anyway. And in Ukrainian law, it states that you do not have elections during wartime. So this whole dictator thing is just another lie distraction. And we're going to put up with this for 4 years. Great. And that's fine because we didn't elect this guy, somebody else did, and power to them, that's their choice. But we don't have to like it. So what happens when our main enemy, aka Russia, who's also America's historic enemy and current enemy, what happens next? I'm going to run this little scenario past you. Let's just say that Russia takes Ukraine, right? Then let's just say they seize a lot of kids like they've already done, and they say, listen, I'm not going to say anything's going to happen, but if you don't fight in our wars, basically, if they don't force conscript all the Ukrainians basically into the army, which is heavily depleted. It's just that, for instance, I don't know what Putin's going to do. I'm just saying what the likely thing is, just because I'm part of Britain and the British Empire, this little dot, how it dominated the world and converted those countries it was colonizing to fight for it and fight against self and to divide, right? So let's just say that Putin is a follower of war. You know what I mean? Let's just say he's a war man, for instance. You know what I mean? There's some that may disagree, but let's say that. And he conscripts all these Ukrainians, which hopefully he won't do. I think it'd be a guerrilla war, but let's just say he did. Then all those countries bordering Ukraine and bordering the huge landmass, which is Russia, are in severe jeopardy. And what direction do they go? Right. But seriously, do they kind of trust in the West to back it up in a war that it can't win against Russia? Or does it just try and negotiate and have the best deal possible in support of Russia? Right, what I'm really talking about is how quick Russia can get from its land border tiptoeing towards the West. You know what I mean? If somehow we don't click our fingers and get our armaments together from countries that we can rely on. And guess which one of those countries isn't on our side and that we can't rely on for that reason? It's with that orange idiot way over in the West, on the other side of that impenetrable force field of an ocean. He thinks, oh my gosh. Like Zelensky said, the water that he somehow feels is going to protect him. Well, not if all your allies are gone. Not if all your allies are gone. Because the Borg, this got Star Trek and the Next Generation, that the Borg would just kind of march forward and amass things. Anyway, one of the things that's going to hypothesize was, given how Trump handled that conversation with Zelensky, what do we think that Trump said to Putin? We know what he said to us, meaning the West. He said, now, there won't be a war. There never would have been a war if it wasn't for me, right? There never would have been a war. Never would have been a war. I'm going to end this war on day one, right? I'm sorry for the accent. Do we think he had a very similar conversation with Putin? I said, I've got a very good degree in psychology. I don't think that Trump is a very complicated person. As I said, he's kind of withhold all the facts of negotiation with Putin from the Americans and the West, from everybody else apart from the Russians, number one. But it's very likely, given where his train of thought is, I'm not pretending that I know, we're just debating. Given where his train of thought is, do you think he had a very similar conversation with Putin? Like, listen, this Zelensky guy, he wouldn't even bother fighting back. If Trump was trying to negotiate it, you know what I mean? So I bet you Trump, given that he's repeated all the Russian propaganda, would have had a conversation with Putin along the lines of, it never would have happened, this kind of fight back from Zelensky, if he was handling it. And in fact, what Putin should have been aiming for is the valuable rare earth materials in Ukraine, and he would find a way to seize it and just get a deal for that and then go on from there. So I think that Trump would have had a conversation with Putin along the lines of Ukraine's rare earth minerals and threatened the war just to obtain those minerals, thinking that would be enough to keep Putin in the box. But he would have acquired the minerals to enrich itself, aka break all the tariffs effectively, because there's always backdoor deals that you can do in those types of things. And also march forward, so you can seize land, seize materials, be very strategic about it. And what Trump put on the table was what I think he spoke to Putin about. And he would not give any kind of guarantees, he only was there to take those materials. And he'd bully Zelensky in it, and I think he was playing to his bully best friend Putin about how Putin should have handled it to get Zelensky to more or less hand over all the most valuable things for their security, to offer nothing but take everything. That's what I think the Orange Man was saying to Putin, and he was trying to prove to Putin that he could bully Zelensky into this situation. And you know what? He didn't, but now he's having to double down by withdrawing all support. In the West, we're taking this very seriously. Very seriously. It's just that we can't respond on the spot. But again, as I said, if Russia increases their borders, it's going to be very hard to push back, which makes it even more of a miracle that Ukraine have held their ground this last 3 years. Such brave people. My gosh, man. But I don't think it's been focused in anybody's minds that they not only looking after themselves, they're looking after us too, because Russia will not stop marching forwards, and Europe are not known for uniting, but now is the time for us to unite if we can, and to give us time to build up those resources. That's why I hear conversations about competing demands on that money. So if we increase defense, well, oh my gosh, we're going to have to let something else go. We're fighting for our survival. These are things we should have done before, because we had that arrangement with America. And they've effectively left us in the lurch because we had guarantees and assurances which have gone out the window. Hopefully never again. This is a time of war. This is a time where at the moment the focus is on Russia, rightly so. This is going to be on many wars in many spots. Now is the time for everybody to strike, and there's nobody to defend. So this is going to be a rocky 4 years. We're going to have to see what happens. It's been like 5 or 6 weeks. It's been 5 or 6 weeks of this guy's second term. Second term. They didn't say final term. I said second term. We're just going to watch this space and just hope for the best for world peace. I don't see how it's possibly going to happen. And I was also just very quickly, it's interesting that of all the countries that America seems to want to, buddy up with, Russia? That's impoverished Russia, the one that's had all the sanctions on it for years, a big threat. The economic relationship and the powerhouse, which you would think it would have trade relationships, would be China. Billions of people in China, not interested. He can only operate on people who reflect a mirror image. And I think he has this ideological kind of utopian, distorted, self-generated perception of Russia, which it is not. And he could listen to many other Western leaders who spend a lot of time on YouTube pitching in, just giving their perspective, saying, no, you can't trust this guy Putin. You won't have none of it. There's only so much you can do when the most stupid person in the room thinks they're a genius. Remember when he was talking about injecting bleach? Remember, he's the guy that was talking about injecting bleach into the body to overcome COVID. This is the 6-time bankrupt guy. Gosh. This is an open debate. Just kind of speaking off the top of my head. Let me know your thoughts. This is not a kind of a plea to agree with me necessarily. You may well see, okay, I support you in that. I'm very happy with those. Or you may have something to continue the debate or contrasting point of view. As long as you flesh it out, all is good. All is good. Please like, subscribe. There's Stephen. I'm out.